Ultimate Collectibles here. Can anyone guess what movie I am going to watch this weekend? I'll give you a hint. It has to do with the giant piece that's sitting next to me. That's what she said. Ultimate Collectibles here with a quarter scale custom diorama. I'd say it's a diorama. There's more than one character of Logan and Laura. I'm assuming this is conceptually based off of the Logan movie, which I initially wasn't a big fan of for a few reasons. One, it showed Wolverine in a weakened state, and that's just not my Wolverine hero. And two, I didn't enjoy the bad guy who he fought in the movie. But I'll try and keep my comments about the movie limited because I don't want to spoil it for anybody. But one thing I did love about the movie is that little girl on the back. His daughter, Laura X23. So this statue, I assume, is based off of the Logan movie. And it's custom. I got it for $1,100. This is number 37 of 54 production pieces made. I actually passed on this statue initially, but then one of my very indecisive friends decided they wanted to get rid of their PO. Yes, you. And I bought it off of that friend. So here I am sitting with it. It arrived yesterday, and I was a little unsure. A lot of people are unsure based on the pictures of this piece, but it arrived in one box, and boxes, I shouldn't say that, the box was gone. It had been ripped away by the carriers, unfortunately. However, the black foam with the straps on the inside did contain everything. As I started to open it up, I noticed the tri-level black foam was not made for this statue. It looked like the factory used some other piece that they had left over, so I started to get worried about breakages. Each piece was individually wrapped with tons of Saran wrap, which was kind of a pain to get off. You had the base here at the bottom on one layer, the bike and a few pieces on the other layer, and then Laura and Logan on the third layer. And unfortunately, there was a breakage when I was opening it up. This back tail was broken. Fortunately, it was a clean break, so I was able to repair it very easily. Then, as I got further and further into it, I noticed there is a paint scratch on Laura's right claw hand, so that was discouraging. And then putting it together, Logan's left claw hand, the magnet is very weak, so it doesn't sit in there the best, and if you touch it, it'll fall out. So I was instantly turned off after spending $1,100 plus shipping and thought I made a mistake. So I started putting it together, and it's very difficult to put together. The engineering on the statue had to be done very well to execute this, and it was actually. So as I put it together, the bike is in two large pieces. The whole back end and then the front tire connect up here, but it's kind of a balancing act. Then the handlebars connect by a magnet. I wasn't sure why it was a magnet. And then the front headlight is attached as well. There was also two wires where they're just sticking out. I didn't know where they go, so I just tucked them in the front here. And then as I put Wolverine on, who's all one piece with the exclusion of his left claw hand, trying to get him to balance on the bike and then also get his foot into the peg hole, I realized why the handlebars were on a magnet, so you could easily adjust them to fit inside Wolverine's hand. Then I tried to put Laura on. She comes in one piece, excluding her head and her right hand. They go on by magnets. And she is so close to Wolverine, it was a balancing act. I almost had to hold the bike, Logan, and Laura all at the same time and put them together. But when you do it right, it fits perfectly. Everything's exactly where it should be. It's not too close, not too far. So somehow they pulled off the engineering on this very complex piece, and they did it very well. Even though I wasn't a fan of the packaging, it was packed very well to, hopefully stop breakages. In between all the engine parts and the wheel spokes were more pieces of the black foam. I had probably 100 different pieces, and I see one right now I still didn't even get out. I'll have to get some tweezers to get that out. So that's kind of how I came across the piece, and I'm a big Wolverine collector. I have about 12 to 13 Wolverine statues, and probably, unfortunately, that many more coming, so I didn't want to pass it up. So let's look to see if my purchase was worth it. Concept and design of this piece. As I said, I believe this piece was made to mimic the movie, and first of all, I don't think this exact scene happened in the movie. I'll find out when I watch it this weekend, but I love it. They are going bat out of hell, and they're driving, and there's dirt on their pants, and they're wearing the older clothes, and it's telling the same story from the movie, and they are pissed. They are gonna F some crap up. I don't know why sometimes I swear and sometimes I don't. I love how she's holding on tightly to him, and that's part of that engineering they did very well. And they have their claws out, and the motorcycle's an older motorcycle, and it's doing well. She has her little backpack that had all of her goods in it, and the map to wherever her friends are at. Starting at the base for the sculpt, what I really like about this is it's you know, an old paved, not even paved street, and there's not really a lot to it, so it's going to be a simplistic base, but they put a lot of detail into this, not only on the sides where you can see different layers, but there's gashes on the top of it. And I'm moving along rather quickly because this is going to take a long time to review, and I don't want to waste everyone's time. Then moving into the bike, they did a great job on the bike. It looks like a real Harley, and it has everything from the carburetor, the engine block, to coils and springs and foot pedals and kickstart and you know, the handlebars. The gauges are a little plain. I believe they are sculpted in there, so yeah, not too bad on that. But bike, very good job. But really, let's talk about the characters. Starting at their boots, both boots are very similar. They're very plain leather style boots with a few creases in them, as there would be as you move your ankle back and forth. There's a really good detail in the sculpt of the clothing on both. Not only from the seams in the side, but the creases of where the action would be happening in this. Whether it's them bending their arms or their legs, or the wind flowing and pushing their jackets out. The sculpt on the clothes is very well done. I'm very impressed by it. Some of the details, like the buttons, aren't as impressive, but they're still done well. Their undershirts they're wearing, I like that a lot. Their hands, I think the hands are good. I've seen better hands, but it's kind of hard to sculpt closed fist hands. And not only is the sculpt difficult, but sometimes the paint to make sure you differentiate those digits. But it's not too bad at all. It is, I believe it's real metal claws. It's a little hard to tell. And then let's get to the portraits, because I think this was the big controversy about the piece, why some hesitants, including myself, where some hesitants were collectors, where some collectors were hesitant. And I'm going to start at Laura. So Laura comes with 3 portraits, the one I'm showing here. And then she has a no sunglasses menacing face, and a non-menacing no sunglasses face. And all are very plain. And at first I wasn't a huge fan of the sculpt of the portraits, and then I googled some pictures of her from the movie. Her face is very plain. So this is actually a very good likeness from the movie, but it's not a lot of detail or definition, especially in the cheeks or around the mouth or the forehead. So if their goal was to look like the movie, 100% accomplishment. Then her hair, not the best hair sculpt I've seen for long-haired figures. It's kind of it's not a mess, but there are differentiating strands, but it's kind of glopped together, especially when you look at like where it overlaps her ear. I do like her backpack a lot. She has this cool texture laced backpack with the map of where the other mutants are staying out of it. Logan's sculpt, and I think this was the biggest controversy. In person, it is spot on. Not only is it spot on, but there's so much detail in it. Detail that not only shows his age, but it shows his fierceness, his anger. As you recall in the movie, he was quite a bit older. And I really like what they did with his hair and his eyebrows and just the lines in his forehead. And it really looks like Hugh Jackman did in the movie. So I think it's a great accomplishment. The ears are okay. They look a tiny bit strange, but maybe Hugh Jackman's did in the movie as well. So overall, Sculpt, I like it a lot. Especially what they did with the clothing and Logan's portrait are my favorite parts. Getting on to the paint, I love some of the things they did with the paint, and then I think there's a few opportunities. The base, very good job. They mixed in some grays and whites and different colors of grays along with the coppers and browns and blacks to really exemplify some of those characteristics I was talking about with the Sculpt, where they made a simplistic base more complex. Paint job on the motorcycle, most of it is amazing. And some of the Sculpt things I failed to mention on the motorcycle is it's dinged and worn. Well, you also see that on the motorcycle. Not is it dirty and dingy from the ground below, but there's some rust stains and some age. And I like what they did with the engine block and some of the metal parts, really showing how old it is and how dirty it is. The thing where I think the paint missed is it's inconsistent. It tells a different story. So the wheels and the fuel tank are super clean. They look brand new, which, you know what, in defense, maybe he just uphauled his bike and switched those out. But they don't really go along with the best of the rest of the bike. But again, you're not going to see it unless you're really micro-analyzing it. But the paint, even inside the spokes and the detail on some of the Sculpt in that, I know we're talking about paint, but the Sculpt, very cool. The paint on the figures. So first of all, there's splatters that match the ground color pretty much to their ankles. So from their boots up to their ankles. I like how they did that. It continues to tell a story. And then moving up their, both their jackets and their pants, there is almost like a mess of paint. It looks like it was a shitty paint job, but it's really not. It's specifically orchestrated, I'm speculating here, but orchestrated to show the wear and the age in their clothes, because if you recall in the movie, they didn't have the fanciest new suits or the fanciest new jackets. So I think it follows that storyline very well. Her backpack, the paint is done excellent, but you can tell the backpack is supposedly a lot newer than her clothes are. And they stuck kind of with those one colors with the specks of white throughout all of their clothes. You know, the solid gray for him and the gray and purplish for her. And then moving up to the portrait and just the skin tones included in the hands, there's fleshy tones, there's pink tones. I really like what they did with those because they matched the expression and the way your skin would be when you're grimacing or fiercing with what would turn more pink or red and what wouldn't. So the paint was very deliberate in the face and the hands regarding that. You can even see some veinage in Wolverine's hands and in his face because he is older. I think they said he was over 100 in the movie. Where I'm not a huge fan of the paint is the lips and teeth seem very basic, but you can tell that both Wolverine, Logan and Laura have different color of white on their teeth, so they're still trying to tell that storyline. Obviously she's young and he's old. And then I think they did a good job with the paint in Logan's hair, especially, you know, not messing up the sculpt because his hair is very well sculpted. Where Laura's kind of follows the sculpt, I think if they'd done a few different colors in her hair, it would have given the sculpt a little bit more definition. I think one area of opportunity they had with the paint was on the dials on the motorcycle. Not really the best. So what are my final thoughts on this piece? I think that the concept and design, especially if they were going for the movie, which I can't imagine they weren't, is awesome. They really hit the nail on the head. They did some very creative and cool things with the sculpt in both. My favorite parts are the bike, the clothing, and Logan's face. Paint, kind of the same areas. The clothing, Logan's face, and the bike. And overall, just a very, very cool piece. Here's in comparison to another X23 diorama that I have. Size-wise, this guy is 20 and a half tall, I think 27 inches wide. And then depth is about 12 inches. Really the only problem I foresee is I would love to display it this way so it's facing out. Not going to be able to do that because I don't have a 27-inch deep display. But very excited I have this piece. It's going to stay in my collection a long time. I look forward to a lot of other pieces I have on order from the same custom studio. And I really appreciate you guys watching. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please like, please subscribe, please share. And I will see you next time. Thanks so much.